Bunny and welcome to a new Let's Draw with Bun. These are the videos where we get comfy together, have a chat and draw some cute artworks. So go and make yourself a tea or hot cocoa and grab your art supplies. So do you guys remember ACEO or art trading cards? Or were they just a collective fever dream we had in the German art community? Because I remember that they were super big in the 2010s. Every artist was drawing them, trading or selling them. We called them Kakao or ACEO cards in Germany and Europe, but I'm pretty sure they're actually just called ATCs or art trading cards in North America. Art trading cards are originally drawn or crafted artworks that come in the standardized size of trading cards, like Pokemon or Magic the Gathering cards. So there aren't really any rules to making art trading cards, but you need to make sure that the size is correct. ATCs have to be 6.4 times 8.9 centimeters or 2.5 times 3.5 inch for my American bunnies. The front of the card is your canvas and artists use them to create the most beautiful drawings on a tiny space. The back of the card will often be decorated with craft paper or washi tape. Artists will add their info on the back or the number of the card, indicating how many cards the artist has drawn in total. When you purchase an art trading card, you would often collect them in a little binder, just like Pokemon cards. Some artists even offered ATC commissions, so you could collect trading cards of your OCs drawn by your favorite artists. I'm pretty sure I still have an ATC binder lying around somewhere. Honestly, art trading cards are super fun, and I remember you couldn't go to a convention back in the day without seeing at least one ATC at every artist's booth. So to bring back the memory and nostalgia for the 2010s art community, I decided to make my own art trading card today. October has just started and I'm using Bunmon's official art prompt list for inspiration to draw today's artwork. You can join our Discord and be part of our community where we hang out together or get creative. The link is in the description below. I'm using the prompt Lace and Moon today, but it's pretty much up for interpretation if I actually did a good job with this. So for this artwork, I was going for a very simple setup. It's just a woman looking into the camera in a portrait mode. And I like to believe that she looks like a bride with her lace veil and a white top or dress of some sort. As always, when I draw traditional sketches, I always try to draw with a very light hand as to not leave any pencil marks on the paper, because at some point I will erase the sketch and replace it with my outlines. All my outlines are drawn with a 0.05 liner, and I know a lot of artists who like to use bigger tips, but especially when drawing art trading cards, you should definitely work with a very fine tip so you can add all the details you want on this tiny space and not smudge the outlines. I have recently dusted off all my Copic markers and was super excited to finally be using them again. In the last couple of years, I've mainly been working with digital art, since the tools work a lot better for the type of artworks and products I'm making. So unpacking my Copic markers again was definitely something. First of all, half of them were dried up and actually unusable, but the other half could be saved, and I was hit with the smell And maybe you know this if you have been working with Copic markers before. They just give me this instant hit of past memories or nostalgia. To be fair, it could also just be the alcohol fumes making me dizzy, but I really like my romanticized interpretation of how the smell hits a certain part of my brain. I actually started the Draw with Bun series for exactly that. Reconnecting with the artist I have been in the past, or just the child who loved to draw. Since art has become my profession, I don't view art as much fun anymore. And that obviously doesn't mean that I don't love my job and love doing art, but there's a very big difference between creating for others and creating for yourself. And Draw with Bun was supposed to be exactly that, drawing for myself. I didn't want there to be a deadline, I didn't want there to be any rules in what mediums I use, or somebody telling me what I have to draw. And let me tell you that this is a type of freedom that can be super overwhelming. When I started this drawing, I felt like I should prove something to you as the audience or to myself, that I can still draw like I've always have. So I spent like 2 hours on the initial sketch, and you don't see it in this video because I cut it out. It ended up being way too complicated and not coming together at all. And I noticed how rusty I've actually become drawing freely. It's a little bit like learning how to ride a bike. You fail a bunch of times in the beginning, but eventually you get better at it. But if you all of a sudden stop riding your bike for multiple years and then you want to start again and the first thing you do is sign up for a marathon, that's probably not a good idea. So the muscle memory is definitely there, but I need to be kind to myself and have confidence that this will come back over time. I think my brain just has to learn again how to let go and not think about the outcome. Because once I started to color the artwork, I actually had so much fun. That's not true. Actually, I think the fun started when I was doing the outlines. It's the sketching part, the have an idea part that is actually hard for me. Visualizing something and putting it down on paper, that's rough. But afterwards, doing the outlines, that was already fun. I feel like my brain can kind of shut off because I'm just copying what I've already sketched out. The only not so fun thing about doing traditional outlines is if you have a shaky hand and all of a sudden one of your lines turns out wonky and you can't change it anymore. And I definitely had that a lot with this drawing, especially due to the size being so small. But I try to not think about it too much and actually just see it as an exercise of me getting better at outlines again. And then after you're done with the outlines, you can finally start coloring, and that is, at least for me, the part where I have the most creative freedom. Because colors are so much fun, there's no limits to them, you can blend them and combine them however you want. And yes, it obviously not always looks cohesive, but who cares? I'm doing this for myself, so I can do whatever I want. I tried to go with a really cool tone color palette, actually not by choice, but just because of the limitations of my Copic markers. Since I actually threw out so many of them, I kind of had a limited range of what I could do. I actually even had to throw out my favorite Copic marker for coloring skin, which is E50. So since I didn't have that, I had to work with a much lighter tone, which was E000, which is a really light shade of yellow-brown. Then I topped that off with violets for the undertone and blue for the shadows. And I already knew from the beginning I wanted to give her dark hair as to create a really nice contrast between her hair color and the white veil. Oh my god, this is so hard to say. Wait, white veil, that's what I'm trying to say. You know how brides have veils that aren't fully opaque? You can still see a little bit through them. This is kind of the type of effect I tried to create. So I did give her a rather dark hair color, but at the places where the hair is covered by the veil, I used a lighter shade of the Copic marker. And honestly, I really like how this effect turned out at the end. For the background, I just decided on a cool violet tone. Again, not by choice, but just because I knew that the Copics actually had enough color in them to fill out the entire background. I also went over the artwork one more time with a few color pencils, and I personally am a super big fan of combining Copic markers with color pencils. But I quickly noticed that this was not needed for this artwork at all, since the color palette was super pastel and the color pencils almost added too much saturation to the artwork. So I just used them for a little bit of highlight in her face, and that's basically it. And I also wanted to add a few highlights with a white Posca marker at the end, and I actually noticed that that one is dry too. All of my traditional art supplies are betraying me. If we continue to do this series, I definitely have to stock up on a few art supplies, because honestly there's nothing more infuriating than you being in the middle of an artwork and then noticing that the marker you're trying to use is almost out of ink. And with that, we are done. Let me give you guys some really cool beauty shots at the end so you can see all the details. I honestly had so much fun drawing this artwork, and it's definitely already a big improvement to the last Draw with Bun episode. Not only skill-wise, but also mentally, I felt a lot less stressed drawing this artwork, and I'm slowly starting to see my old art style again. Thank you guys so much for joining me today. I hope you liked the outcome, and I hope you were able to get creative yourself. Please remember to like and subscribe, and hopefully I see you for my next video.